Okay, I gotta admit,
This video is a little bit of a trap. Just a little bit.
but it's not false. Yes, you can see the title of this video is Men, if you're not wearing these fragrances, you're dropping the ball. And no, it's not that serious, but I do see a lot of trepidation surrounding these types of fragrances, and we're talking about floral fragrances. Now, I hear the internal dialogue of many of you guys already. I hear it. You're about ready to click away off the video, but I implore you, stay here. We have some good stuff to talk about. We have some great fragrances to talk about, and you're gonna come away with something. I'm pretty dang certain of that. So keep an open mind. Don't be turned off just because you hear the word floral or rose or whatever it may be. We're talking about ingredients in nature. They are not bound by men or women. If you like the smell of it, you like the smell of it, and that's what you go off of. So I have 10 floral-based fragrances that I think that any man could wear and enjoy and feel confident in. Some of them might involve some stretching, some mind opening in order to truly appreciate and feel comfortable, but that's why samples, decants are always a great thing to do. So I will have links in the description where we can do that. So with all that out the way, let's dive right into it. All right, so again, we have 10 fragrances here. The first 5 of them are based around rose. Rose is one of the most common floral ingredients I think we see in perfumery across the board. It's used in so many different ways to create even new genres of perfumery. I just happen to have a ton of rose fragrances in my collection. I did want to give you a diversity of floral ingredients, but rose is all over my collection. So we got 5 great rose scents, and then the other 5 will not be based on rose. They will each be based on a different floral ingredient. Cartier Declaration d'un Soir, a phenomenal and timeless rose fragrance marketed for men in the designer realm. A fresh and spicy rose. Fresh rose, a little bit of a green quality, almost like you're getting the stems and the leaves of it, but it is a little bit sweet, and it's quite spicy with black pepper, might have a woody backbone. Ultimately a very romantic fragrance, while still being handsome, still being masculine, but in a bit of a sensitive way. Something to wear on a date. If you want to really be romantic, and rose is known for that, don't be afraid of a fragrance like this. Yes, very rose forward, but not powdery, not old woman-y as people kind of associate it with. It's simply beautiful, it's simply captivating. It's kind of a symphony for the senses. It will elevate you. Elevate you. Dress this up, they better look out. Be handsome. Be amazing. Declaration d'un Soir, great way to do that. Up next is one that I definitely do not urge you to blind buy. Get a sample of this if it sounds interesting to you. From the house of Roja Parfums, from their Gulf collection, we have United Arab Emirates. And this is a rose oud, like many of the fragrances from this collection. They are paying homage to some of these regions around the Gulf and the perfumery that dominates those regions. Wow. Again, rose forward, fresh, sweet, a little bit jammy though. Has a little bit more of a thick, almost sticky quality to the rose, but still quite fresh and spicy. Definitely a touch of a funkiness from that oud. It's a little bit animalic. Just adds a nice luxurious edge to the scent. So in layman's terms, it makes it a little bit more masculine, so to speak. But I'd just say it makes it more unisex. Definitely spicy with cloves. You have to like cloves. It's a dry spice. It can be a little bit stuffy. It is well blended here, but it does contribute to the texture of the scent, giving the rose depth, giving it some dimension. And there's a lot more going on here. It's warm and ambery with resins as well. A lot of depth here, a lot of complexity here. Utterly luxurious. Dress this up. It's gonna do you well. I wore this on a dinner with Grace a couple weeks ago, and this was after I first tried it on my hand and wasn't really moved by it. I sprayed it on. I smelled it up close and I didn't really get it. It was like, okay, it smells good, but I'm not getting much. And as I like to say, doing that, smelling a fragrance up close is like looking at a Picasso or a Monet from this far away. Yeah, you get some general ideas of what's going on. You see some textures and things, but you don't get the full picture. You got to give it that wearing. So that's what I did. I wore it to dinner. It was around me and her the entire night. Great performance, just kind of enveloping us, filling the room around us. Beautiful and again, elegant, smells expensive. And I came away really, really loving it. So I'm glad I gave it that full wearing. Again, I always urge you guys, don't just evaluate from here. That's not realistic. You got to wear it. But that's a beautiful rose fragrance to check out. Get a sample, again, don't blind buy. That is United Arab Emirates. I think it should go without saying, all of these fragrances are unisex. Many would say all fragrances are unisex. I know a lot of people don't really agree with that. Women, if you're watching this, any of these fragrances can be easily enjoyed and appreciated by you as well. But this next one up is from Zaharoff. It's called Signature Rosé. One of the best modern rose releases I think we've had. This is a rose incense. So unlike a rose oud, it doesn't really have a dry, woody backbone. It has more of a airy, fresh, smoky, but cooling smoky backbone with that rose. It's wispy, and it just mixes with the rose to kind of like almost dilute it and dissipate it in a way where it just enters the nostrils differently. It's not quite so explicitly floral up close. There is this like grainy texture to the freshness of the rose from that incense that makes it interesting, a little bit different of a dimension, and it is mixed with some richer elements like vanilla. It does have a little bit of oud in here, but the oud is very slight, adds just a little bit of backbone to it. Just a touch, but incense is primarily what's going on here. Different types of roses, some of the highest quality roses in here. There's a sweet creamy quality to it. You can actually wear this in the summertime. It turns a little chocolatey on my skin, which is really beautiful and not a bad performer. Get a sample if it sounds interesting. As I like to say, this is a rose fragrance for rose lovers and rose haters. So if you're not sure about rose, this might be a pretty dang good introduction if you can get a sample. That is Signature Rosé. From the house of Argos, I could have chosen their newest release, which is called Adonis Awakens. That is definitely a rose forward scent, but in a very unique way. If you want to know more about it, check out this video. Beautiful fragrance. But I did want to highlight their previous release, which also uses rose, but uses some other florals to back it up. This is called Pallas Athene. I just took off the cap. I have it here. I'm going to give it a spray. And I mean, just look at the color of this stuff. Look at the juice. You'll see it in the B-roll. The color suits it very well. Vibrant, full, and dense and robust. It is very floral. You have hyacinth, you have peony, you have rose mixing together. So there's a sweet freshness here. It's a little bit green, which helps to kind of balance the sweetness. Hyacinth, I think, adds a bit of a green quality. But this is all mixed with some red berries, with some slightly creamy sweet vanilla, and some patchouli and vetiver. And the base that makes it woody and a little bit more earthy and has a bit of an edge as it dries. But it is quite floral. It does smell like a fruity floral in a way without being overly sweet. Red berries bring also a little bit of a tartness. An authentic smelling scent, smells very natural, smells very beautiful. This is a statement maker. This is a distinctive personality. I wouldn't wear this in anything less than a suit with no tie. Honestly, I would probably wear this in all black, black shirt, black suit, no tie. There's something sexy about it. A lot of people might find it feminine, but guys, if you, so to speak, increase your masculine profile in terms of the clothes you wear, you kind of balance the scale in people's minds, maybe subconsciously. Check out Argos, Pallas Athene, or any of their fragrances. Use the code FRESH10, save some money. Get a sample pack. You can try them all, see what you think. But that is Pallas Athene. All right, our final rose forward fragrance from the designer realm. Unusual fragrance in an unusual bottle. A hater love. Some people don't like this at all. Some people claim they wear it all the time and get tons of compliments. It really depends on what you're looking for, what your taste is, what type of places you wear it to. I can't say it's my favorite, but it is different, it's unique. I can appreciate that. From Moschino, we have Toy Boy. This is a fresh, spicy rose, has an interesting kind of fresh resinous quality from Elemi. A little bit waxy magnolia flower is also in here playing a supportive role. Gives it texture though. A waxy texture that's a little strange, but it's nice. Pear also brings a different type of fruitiness that doesn't smell all that natural, even a little bit scratchy in a way, but I think it does kind of add to the character. In this case, the lack of smoothness of that ingredient makes this quirky fragrance what it is. All in all, a unique take on rose. If anything, I could compare it a little bit to the Cartier Declaration d'un Soir, but way more eccentric than that, not quite as refined and as elegant and handsome. This is more of an artistic fragrance. This is someone who is not really worried about fitting in. You just have your own thing. You wear your personality on your sleeve. This might be for you. If you like it, it can be a very versatile fragrance. And it's also one that performs well. I don't love the bottle, but it's different. I can appreciate it. Moschino, they stand out. That is Toy Boy. Up next is a beautiful, timeless, dare I say, masterpiece from the house of Hermes, from the nose of Jean-Claude Helena. Getting away from rose now. This is based mostly around lotus as its primary floral ingredient. There's a couple of others in there, but lotus is the most prominent. This is called Un Jardin sur le Nil. Primarily kind of a green, citrus, fresh, watery fragrance. A little bit vegetal smelling. You have tomato leaf, you have carrot, grapefruit is in here, but the lotus is what gives the fragrance its personality. It makes it a little bit watery and airy smelling. So that is what transports you to what the name says, a garden by the Nile, garden on the Nile. It doesn't smell overly floral, but it does have a softness to it that you can only attribute from a floral. It smells beautiful, it's perfectly unisex. It's not something I would attribute to a certain type of person. Yeah, I'd say if you love it, wear it. If you love it, you can probably find a lot of places to wear it. I might wear it myself casually during the summertime. This is a great scent for the heat. It's soft, it's understated, but it has a very unique presence to it. And I love it for that. When I want to feel a little bit different, I might just wear it for me while I work out or something. But Un Jardin sur le Nil. Different take on a transportive scent. Check it out. Okay, we have to talk about Iris. Iris is a fragrance note that has a relatively new presence in the men's marketed designer realm. But this is not a designer fragrance what I'm going to talk about here. Many of you might expect I might speak about Dior Homme, which I love. I love the original Dior Homme series that kind of put Iris being in the forefront of a scent on the map and the designer realm, and a lot of companies have followed suit. But I've talked about it a lot. That might actually be a little bit too much for some guys to really have an introduction to Iris. So I chose this one instead. This is a niche scent from L'Artisan Parfumeur. This is called Bucoliques de Provence. It is a relatively expensive scent for what you get. I can't say it's worth the price of a bottle unless you love it. It's very simple. Iris, leather, lavender. That's it. Also, if you didn't know, lavender is also a floral. We see it everywhere and it's not associated with a floral scent. It's usually fresh, maybe soapy and clean, but it is floral, it's a flower. But used here, it does kind of resemble Dior Homme. It is a stripped down version of that DNA. Dior Homme contains lavender. It also contains iris and it contains leather, kind of in that order from top to bottom, but they all work together and it's mixed with like a chocolatey, musky nuance, and there's a lot more going on there. But this strips it down to just those three elements. It's fresh, a little bit soapy, but it has this slightly powdery, clean iris quality, almost cosmetic-like, but way toned down compared to Dior Homme, and a bit of this soft, supple leather creating texture and dimension. But that's really it. It doesn't change much on the skin. This is a very specific scent. I would wear this specifically when I want to smell iris in a basic form, but in a very soft and, again, supple way that is sensitive and understated. Something I would get a sample of if it sounds interesting. If you're looking for a very simple take on iris, not a bad one to check out from the house. But again, I'm warning you, very simple, not much going on here, but beautifully done. Bucoliques de Provence from L'Artisan Parfumeur. Up next, we're talking about Narcisse, a very unusual floral ingredient. You don't see it used a ton in the forefront. And what makes it different is that it doesn't typically smell overtly floral. Like lotus, this is more earthy and green, even maybe a little bit of a tobacco-like, dry, hay-like feel to it, but mixed, oh my gosh, this is beautiful. From Atelier Materi, this is called Narcisse Taiji. I've talked about it several times. Ginger, pear working together, spicy, zingy, fresh and open, kind of nostril clearing, with a sweet fruity pear that is really well blended here. It doesn't come off scratchy like it does in other fragrances like Toy Boy, which I talked about earlier. Jean Paul Gaultier Ultramalt has pear in it that I don't really love, but I tolerate it. But here it's done beautifully. It's very smooth, round, a little bit juicy, and soft. It's a very ripe pear. It's very soft, and rather than being crispy. A little bit of a spicy quality to it. It is sweet. It is green, it is earthy, there's a dampness to it, almost like a forest floor feel, but it is still fresh with that ginger. Some people might find it a little bit feminine. There's a touch of a powderiness, but I wouldn't call it a powdery scent. Get a sample set from this brand. I love their fragrances, some more than others, but this, as I said, is my favorite. Narcisse Taiji, a great take on Narcissus. From the house of Cartier, we have from their relatively new collection, the Rivieres collection. And they came out with 3 fragrances all at once. I have all 3. And I like one of them more than the others. This is not that one because that one is not necessarily a floral scent. They're all very simple. They're all very high quality. They're all very transportive. And I do appreciate that about them. They're all very light though. They're not gonna last super long. Wow. This is based on violet and iris too, but mostly violet. This is called Insouciance. Violet is a sweeter floral note, can be a little bit powdery, a little bit airy. There's something quite green about this fragrance. I couldn't tell you what it is. Maybe there's something they're not listing. They just list like fruity notes, iris, violet, and woods as the notes here. But I get more than that. I do get this slightly herbaceous, almost like green leaves, crushed green leaves, but made a little bit sweet. Quite fresh and has a touch of a woody backbone, but not very much here. Mostly a floral scent that is very natural smelling without being overly powdery and overly sweet. Violet is a beautiful scent. It's used in so many different ways. And this is one of the few violet scents I have that I love. It is very unisex, maybe leans feminine to some, but I totally wear this to refresh myself on a hot day. Perfect for the summertime. That is Insouciance from Cartier. And we are ending with a powerhouse. This is a crazy fragrance. It is extremely powerful. It is something I would not spray more than a couple times. It's already filling the room. I sprayed it once on this paper. It is so strong. Tuberose is the floral ingredient here. It's a white floral. There's plenty of other white florals we could have talked about. I didn't talk about jasmine and neroli, and I could have talked about those. We can leave that for another video. I didn't really have some I wanted to include in this video. At least ones that I think men would find easy to wear and to gravitate towards. So I wanted to stick to more accessible, unisex leaning floral scents. This is definitely one of those, but this is not for the faint of heart. Get a sample first. This is called Charade from Sarah Baker. Tuberose is, again, a white floral. It can be very powdery. It can be almost damp and humid smelling, almost carnal smelling in a way where it's super, super earthy when it's used to its highest form, like in Carnal Flower from Frederic Malle. That stuff is mind-blowingly crazy, but this is toned down from that. But nonetheless, a thick white floral fragrance that is a bit powdery, but it is made sweet and sticky from honey. There's definitely oak moss in here, which kind of makes this a sheep. And I think that is what it's going for. It's almost like masked as a sheep fragrance, but it comes off as something else. So it's a charade, so to speak. And you do have a nice, beautiful woody backbone from vetiver, which comes out quite a bit on my skin. Gives it a dry woodiness that adds balance, but this, again, this stuff is so outlandish. I'm warning you, not for the faint of heart. You're not all gonna love this. Get a sample if it sounds interesting. It's a statement maker. It's something I would dress up at night when it's cold or cool. Heat, I feel like, is gonna choke everyone around you. Incredible stuff, but you gotta be ready for it, otherwise it will wear you. That is Charade from Sarah Baker. All right, that's gonna do it for me. Let me know if you've tried any of these fragrances down in the comments below. What are your thoughts on floral fragrances? If you are someone who tends to avoid them, I'd love to know why. Let's talk about it down in the comments, and hopefully you feel called to try maybe one of these fragrances. Break the seal a bit, crack the door open, let some new air in, broaden your horizons a bit. Perfumery is a beautiful world. There's so much to discover, and there's no need or room to be afraid. Life is too short for that. Nonetheless, thank you so much for tuning in. Peace. I'll see you in the next one.